You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
It's Monday evening, and you're listening to Joe and Gemma on the Supernaturelle Show.
Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of the Supernaturelle Show. I am so pleased to introduce my guest tonight. I have been waiting to chat to this lady for a long time, and we've finally pinned this lady down. Jayne, good evening.
Good evening, Gemma. Lovely to talk to you. Finally.
Finally, I know, right? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yes, I would like some more energy. I'm a bit tired, but I'm doing well.
I mean, just to make everybody aware at home, Jayne, you are actually pretty much on location at the minute, aren't you? Although we're not going to go into where you are, where you've been, but you are currently actually away from home on your filming schedule, aren't you?
Yes, we are. So we're almost done. We're away filming Help My House is Haunted. We've just done episode 11. So we've done 11 overnight investigations. So I'm feeling the strain.
11 investigations, and you've still come to talk to me tonight. Yay! Thank you so much. So before we start going on to Help My House Haunted and Paranormal Captured, etc., let's go right back to basics, Jayne. How did you get into the paranormal field? What was it about the paranormal that gripped you?
Well, it's one of those things that's sort of always been there, really. And it's weird. I think back now, and actually growing up, I used to listen to my parents talking about their experiences to their friends and family members, and everyone in my family believed basically in spiritualism and an afterlife. And when I was about 15, I started going to a spiritualist church with my mum and my nan, and seeing mediums and stuff. And I always found it really interesting, but I never really had an experience until probably when I was about 17. I had what I can only really describe as an out-of-body experience. I did something quite naughty. I took my mum's car, which I was specifically told I shouldn't do, as I was only learning to drive. But they were away on holiday, and I took the car and I was driving around, and I was looking at the radio. And when I looked up, the cars had stopped in front of me, so there was a queue of traffic in front, and to me, there was no way out of it. So I just closed my eyes and I pulled the steering wheel to the left, and can't really remember anything else. The next thing I remember is being on the other side of a car park, just stationary with the engine running, and I opened my eyes and I thought, how have I got here? It was really, really surreal. So I don't know what that was, whether that was some kind of intervention or whether there's a natural explanation for how I got there. But when I pulled back around into the road, there were bollards up in front of the car park, so I couldn't understand how I'd got through those and into there. But anyway, that was really unusual. And then when I was 17, later that year, my cousin died in a car accident. So she was 16. We were like sisters. So yeah, from then on, really, I thought, well, I kind of believe that there's something, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to see what I can do and just try and learn a bit more about it. But back then it was sort of there weren't many women doing it anyway, but certainly not young girls of that age. And all of the groups that were around were middle-aged men who didn't want me cramping their style kind of thing. So I sort of just did it on my own. I was a bit weird, and I went to graveyards and read books in the library and all this kind of stuff.
I don't think that's weird at all. I was exactly the same. Even down to reading, a lot of people do not tend to pick up books, especially not, like you say, at that age that you was back then. For you to pick up a book when most people would have been out, that to me says a lot, because there's so much knowledge in the books.
I was just so curious, looking back, I'd question everything. I mean, that was kind of my nature anyway, I suppose, but especially with the paranormal. And I always remember the favourite shop in the town where I grew up in Stourbridge was this sort of little new age fair tradey type shop that do, the type that do crystals and the incense and all of that. And I still love them now, and both of my girls do as well, because wherever we see one, I take them in. But I'd go in there and I'd just spend ages just looking at things and thinking, looking at all the angel cards and the books and not really understanding it, but just being fascinated. So yeah, it's just one of those things really that's always been there. And then very, very slowly, I've sort of met more and more people who are into the same kind of thing.
It's surprising how many people are actually into the paranormal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When you first start out, I think you think that you're a bit alone in that, because it's not something that most people openly talk about. But like you say, the more you're in it, the more you go out there, the more you're chatting to people, and the less, what's the word I'm after? And Jayne, I apologise in advance because I do have a habit of just saying things as it is. But the less of a freak you feel, if you will, because you do think, is there something wrong with me? I'm out running around a graveyard or woods or an abandoned building in the middle of the night. What is wrong with me? But you've either got it or you haven't. And for me, like you said, it's the why.
Yeah, and
why
I think
is that happening?
It's strange, because when you tell someone for the first time what you're interested in, it sort of raises a few eyebrows. But then as you get talking to people, there aren't many people who don't have an opinion of some kind, whether it's that they completely don't believe, whether they're full-on believers, or whether they float somewhere in between and they're curious. Most people have got something to say about it. So, it's definitely always a conversation starter when you say, what you're interested in. And, the amount of people who, once you've spoken to them for a while, actually come out with, well, I don't think I've seen a ghost, but there was this one time when and you know what it's like. Most people have had an experience that they can't explain, and whether they decide to sort of brush it away and say, oh, no, it can't be anything like that, or whether they accept that it might be paranormal, it's one of those things. But I think we're all curious, aren't we, about something.
Oh. Very much so. I think everybody is curious about the unknown, whether it be the paranormal side of things or whether it be death itself. Everybody is curious about that, and it's human nature to be. It's just whether or not people freely discuss it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is, that is the massive difference. So, HD Paranormal.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking it was about 98?
Yeah, it was. I was about, that was when I was about, 15, 16, and I decided that, right, this is it. I'm going out. I'm going to get myself a tape recorder. Get myself a recorder.
With a pencil, so you can reel it back in when it chews up.
Yeah, that's the one. And a pad and a torch and a piece, and I'm just going to go and sort of see what's going on. So it wasn't that it was, a big official organisation or anything, but that was what I decided to do, and that was the group's name, if you like. And then I had a couple of other friends come in, and we started doing it together. And then as I left college and met a couple more people, it just went like that, really. And yeah, it's weird when I think back now. It could be last week that I was sort of 15 and 16 and kind of hiding it from some friends because I knew that they'd think it was weird, and talking about it to one or two people that I thought were a bit more open-minded. So it's strange now to think that I actually just tell everyone what I do.
You can't exactly hide it now, Jayne. You're on the TV.
Yeah,
that's not me. Point. It's my twin.
Yes,
never seen that lady before in my life.
Although, do you know what? I've apparently got a few doppelgangers, because in the past I've had people come up to me and they have full-blown conversations, and then they'll just stop and look at me and say, "You're not the person that I thought you were, are you?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know who you are."
I do say that we've all got a doppelganger.
Yeah, I've heard that. I know, and I read a little bit about it years ago, and it is fascinating. If you look online, there are some people who post photos of them with their doppelgangers, and it's amazing.
It's meant to be bad luck, though, isn't it? Isn't one of you... Here we go, look, the old tales. But isn't one of you meant to actually pass away if you actually meet up with your doppelganger?
Well, yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, I don't know how true it is, but I think you'd probably pass away of shock. I mean, you imagine.
Like,
So,
had enough one of me without two of me. The world is not ready for that, I can assure you of that. So HD Paranormal, because you do your weekends away as well, don't you? So what do you get from these weekends? Because I'm sure you've got one coming up as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got one. I don't do many events. I do maybe 5 or 6 a year. And the one we've got coming up in October is in Gloucester. It's a haunted weekend break. I actually wanted it originally just to do one event in Gloucester. But then as I looked around, I thought, I can't choose. So Woodchester Mansion, wanted to go there. The New Inn, wanted to go there. So I thought, OK, well, I'll do 2 nights then. And I'll put it together for people so that they get the meals and the travel and everything. So, yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to go to Chavenage House as well, which was on Poldark and a few other things, The Living and the Dead. And that's amazing because it's open most of the year, I think. But when we go, it's closed. So it will only be our group that the family are showing round and telling the ghost stories to. So I'm just really excited for that. But yes,
it's going to be awesome.
I know. I was surprised at how popular it was, actually, because I thought, well, you never know, do you, when you try something out, you think, well, I think it's a good idea and I'd like to go, but I don't know whether anyone else will. So it was really popular. We've got 4 places left.
Is that all you've got left? How many people are actually going?
Well, I'm only taking altogether there'll be 25, but that's going to be that's including the team. Yeah, I don't think you have a good experience when you've got like 40, 50 people on an event because you can't interact properly, and noises and things that you hear, it could be anyone. So where I can, I try to keep it fairly small.
I've done events with up to 120 people, and It was horrific.
Oh, God,
absolutely horrific. At that point, that was one of the big turning points for me, because I think everybody in the paranormal field has a turning point at some point of their journey. And for me, it became, at that point, with the 120 people, I was like, I can't do this. This is all about showmanship, and that's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
I've got knowledge. I want to share it. I want people to experience the night and enjoy it, but I don't want it to be a circus show either.
Yeah. And I think you have to sort of question, there's obviously a financial incentive there for selling so many tickets, and it becomes about something else then. Oh, yeah. I mean, I like to sit with people who have taken the time to put their hand in the pocket and come to my event. I want to sit with them for a bit and talk and just, find out what they're about and stuff. So 120 people, I just cannot imagine how you would enjoy a venue with that many people.
Oh, well, I definitely didn't. I think at one point, I found myself in a corner rocking. Please just get me out of here. Is it time for this event to be over? It was awful. But like I say, I think everybody has a turning point. Did you have a point at all over your, I call it a journey because it is, that's what it is. We all have our own little paranormal journey. So at any point, have you had your turning point where you've gone from, how do I explain this? When you've gone from just your basic old school TV shows to questioning more in depth and wanting to know more about the science side of things. And I'm going this way for a reason.
Okay. I like your style. I see what you do. Yeah, well, to be honest, I've always been, when I went to college, I did psychology. That was my thing, really. And actually, I wanted to be a forensic psychologist. So I wanted to work in prisons and I wanted to work with people. I had this whole curiosity around serial killers and all, more macabre, weird stuff. But that was just what I wanted to do. And I thought maybe, going to the probation service or whatever else. So I've always had this kind of intrigue around the human psyche and what we experience and how we experience it and how real that is and how our brain can fool us and all that kind of thing. So I think my approach to the paranormal to some degree has always been a little bit like that, sort of not skeptical, but questioning.
Yeah.
Not questioning of people's belief in their experiences, but questioning in those actual experiences and how they've sort of perceived them. So, yeah, I mean, I'll say Most Haunted because I loved it. Initially, when it started, it absolutely was groundbreaking. And series 1 of Most Haunted, I remember sitting there. I couldn't wait for it to come on. And when they did the lives, they were massive. Mm-hmm. And it was like, wow, finally, there's actually something that I can sit down and watch that I'm really, really into. And then obviously as time went on, things changed. And but at the time, it was amazing. And it wasn't until recently, actually, that I found shows like, I don't know if you've ever heard of In Search Of, which was an American show in the 70s with Leonard Nimoy. And I thought, oh, my God, there was actually something before Most Haunted, way before, that was sort of even more, not serious, but kind of,
No, it was more serious.
Yeah, you had this approach of let's really speak to the people who've had these experiences, and you got Hans Holzer there talking about the parapsychology of it. And this is the 70s. And I just thought,
Go back to the 70s, though. And, you've just said, Holzer, you have got amazing people that was putting out there groundbreaking stuff that nobody's heard of. The amount of people in the paranormal field that haven't heard of Holzer
I know.
is phenomenal.
I know. I think it's because I don't know, but I imagine that for a lot of people, their interest in the paranormal has been sparked by either Most Haunted or shows like that, sort of more modern approaches, to the ghost hunting rather than the paranormal. And I do see that as two sort of different things, really.
I think you have to. That got me for a long time. I was like, struggling with it and thinking, but that's not what it's like. What you see in there is not an investigation.
No, it's not. I mean, I must admit, I watched one of those shows the other night. I was getting ready to go out and do some more work, but and it was on, so I was doing my hair and it was on, and I was just I couldn't believe it. I kept stopping and thinking, well, nothing's happened. What's going on? This is like just, I don't know. And then something gets thrown across the floor, and you think to yourself, actually, do you know what? If something was thrown across the floor, that's so incredible. The amount of energy that would take, if that's genuine for that to happen, that's like groundbreaking. That should be, a headline. But it's not, because sort of really people know that this is an entertainment show. And the thing is, there's only so many times you can sort of cry wolf, if you like, before people just start expecting it and thinking, oh, yeah, something's been thrown. Yeah. And it's not scary. So, yeah, it's different. I think, you've got your entertainment shows, which they do have the loyal followers who will not hear a bad word said about it. And it is what it is. And then you have something slightly different. And hopefully, and I think it is the case, I think hopefully now as time's going on, more and more people who are into the paranormal are becoming more questioning and do need a little bit more to kind of make it more credible, because otherwise we're all just screaming around it with night vision cameras, running around screaming and that's it. And that's not really showing anyone anything or teaching anyone anything.
I've not actually heard you scream yet, Jayne.
I don't tend to scream.
I've not heard you scream. I will just put that out there. I have not heard you scream.
Apparently, I am told that I do say, "What was that?" quite a lot. But
I'll give you that because that's a question, right? So you're still questioning the whys. So I'll give you that one.
Thank you. Yeah. So yes, I'm not saying, that's a ghost, but yes, what was that?
You're saying, what was that?
What was that?
I've just heard a noise. What was it? Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, you never stop. I don't actually know where you get your energy from. You never, ever stop. Even down to the courses, because you do online courses as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
So
yeah.
Just talk. I know, right? Do you ever have a day off?
No. In honesty, no. But I suppose it's I weigh it up between my kids are young, and I'm very lucky that I can work from home, so I can do the school runs. You know, I take them to school, I pick them up, I do the tea. I can do all of that. So, you know, it's I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what I'd rather do. It works. I mean, I do work a lot, but then if I want to go to sports day, or if I want to take my kids somewhere, I can do that. So
you're lucky enough that you can work around your children, and I suppose with them being so young, that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I do find myself on the laptop answering emails when they're in bed at 8 and 9 o'clock. And my husband's there nudging me, looking at his watch, going, come on now, should we watch something? Just going through Netflix.
Glass of wine, glass of wine, yeah. Come on.
I'm like, right, okay, just this last one.
This last one goes on for about 15 minutes. So the courses that you do online, can you just talk me through those and what you get out of it, what you learn?
Well, the first one I did was just a really quite short course, actually, on spirit attachment. So haunted objects, really. So people have got this idea, you know, about the scary haunted objects, the Annabelles and all of that kind of thing. And I would get emails all the time and messages from people. And when I met people, they'd ask me the same things. And I was constantly repeating myself in saying, you know, it's more about energy, and if you believe that a building can be haunted, then of course an object can, because a building is just a large inanimate object, and having these conversations over and over. And I thought, you know what, nowhere people can go and just sort of read about this or learn about this. So because I'd spent so many years working with people who had objects and having objects myself and doing different experiments, and some that were rubbish and didn't work and some that were quite interesting, that I thought, okay, I'll put it together. So, yeah, it's an online course. It's video tutorials, and it just goes through. It's not too heavy. It just goes through basically what people have been asking me over the years about this whole phenomena of spirit attachment. So that's the first one. And then I found that loads of people were finishing that and saying, what's the next one? And I didn't have one.
What's next? And
I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So then I started thinking, well, how about something that people, you know, you don't have to be a member of the SPR or ASAP or anything if you don't want to be, but you can still do this course, do this training at home in your own time. And I spent about 9 months writing the course, going through the units. I wanted people to really see the serious side of it, because there are boring elements to being a paranormal investigator. Of course,
without a doubt. How many times have we sat in rooms for hours upon hours upon hours and got nothing?
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's expectation. And in the course, I give people the form that I use. So if someone calls me to their house, I fill in a massive interview questionnaire, and you have to ask all kinds of things. You know, do they drink? You know, do they drink alcohol? Does anyone in the house take drugs? You know, it's confidential, but it's relevant because
very
things like seeing things, you know, hallucinations and whatever else. So there's all of that in there. There's all of the practical advice, but there's also kind of helping people to understand parapsychology. You know, I'm really sort of careful to say to people, look, this isn't a parasite. You won't be a parapsychologist when you do this course, but you will have a good understanding of what it is and how it applies to you. So
massively. I mean, like you say, you know, you're not saying you're going to be a parapsychologist when you've done this. I had Cal Cooper on last week, and he is a parapsychologist. And when he was reeling off what you have to go through to actually become a parapsychologist, it was phenomenal. Yeah, blew my mind. So in a way, I'm glad you're not saying that, because there is a lot of courses online that do say, do this course for X amount of money and you'll be a parapsychologist.
I know, it's ridiculous. I mean, first and foremost, you have to be a psychologist. You can't just be a parapsychologist.
you have to have understanding of it.
Psychologist is a real thing, you know, you can't be so it is annoying. I mean, I think people think sometimes that they can just read a few books and have an interest and then they are a psychologist. It doesn't work.
Depends which books you're reading as well. I mean, Holzer, I will hold my hands up. I've got Holzer, the ghost book. Have I read that cover to cover? No, have I, Elle? Have I referenced it at points? Yes, that's a reference book. That's not a reading book. But when it comes to understanding the paranormal, you know, it depends which way you're going to go. Are you going to read a ghost story book, or are you going to pick up something like Tyrrell?
Yeah, I think there's a balance for most people. And what I was finding was that people were saying to me, you know, that they wanted to learn more about the paranormal. They didn't want it to be, you know, over the top and dramatic, but they also didn't have, one, the money, and two, the time to go and join all of these recognised organisations and do these lengthy study courses. So I thought, well, I'm going to put something together for people, because I could completely see that, you know, that's like me. I didn't have the time to go and do another degree. Now I've got children and things like that. You know, I did psychology, and I'm interested in history, and I'm doing history now. But actually, you know, I just didn't have, for years and years, I didn't have the time to do anything like that, or the money to do it. So I thought, I'm just going to put something out there that's affordable, that people can do and enjoy in their own time, and that hopefully will lead to something else. You know, will lead to siren. I'm in the middle of a city
coming
centre.
To collect you?
They're coming to get you, some men in white coats. That's it. They've caught up with me finally. Yeah, that's city centre hotels for you. I get that all the time. Yeah,
is that just like second nature now? You just hear them. Oh, there we go.
But that was the thinking behind the course, really. And then, of course, I asked a few people who I trusted, you know, and appreciated and respected their opinions to do it, like Ashley. I asked him to go through it, and a few other people, and say, you know, just have a look at it, see what you think. And the reviews have always been positive. So it was a lot of hard work. It actually cost me a lot of money, because I had to get it accredited, which was really expensive. But, you know, I did that, and that was that. And then, yeah, people have enjoyed it, so it was worth it, definitely.
But that's not all, though, is it, Jayne? I mean, there's so much more to your backstory as well, isn't there? I mean, was it the... Oh, please don't get it wrong. Was it the Afterlife?
I'm doing the Afterlife documentary, yeah, at the moment. Yeah, that's that's just massive. I don't know when I'll get that finished, but it's turned into this beast of a thing, because I originally thought that I wanted just to do something fairly short, and I didn't want it to be about ghosts specifically and the paranormal and spirits and stuff like that, but I wanted it to be about life after death. And I wanted to explore all of the different beliefs around that. And then when I met with Dr. Penny Sartori, who's from the University of Swansea, she was an intensive care nurse, and she met with so many people in intensive care who'd had cardiac arrests and came back. And when she spoke to them, they all described the same sort of thing. And she was so fascinated that she did a 5-year study, which gained her a PhD. And it's an incredible book and study. And it's such strong evidence to suggest that actually we do experience something once our physical body finishes, you know, once it stops. And so when I met with her and I had this conversation, it kind of led Afterlife, my little documentary, down a different path, because then it became, wow, near-death experiences, this is really intriguing. So yeah, we spoke to some amazing, interesting people. I mean, religions as well. I wanted to know all about, you know, what do Hindus think happens? What do Muslims think happens? Because
that's a huge minefield on its own, the different religions in terms of death and dying.
Yeah. But the key thing they've all got in common is that they do believe that there is something, you know, that when we die, we don't just end and stop. That's it. But then I'm due to meet with someone from Cryonics UK who they freeze people. So, you know, you can say, right, I want to be frozen when I die, and in 100 years' time, I want you to thaw me out and bring me back. And that is just completely terrifying and just throws up all kinds.
I'm not being funny, but that scares me. Not gonna lie, I am slightly terrified by that. The world's bad enough as it is now. Can you imagine in 100 years you're being defrosted, still in your pajamas and your dressing gown, and there's people on hoverboards? It'd be like, where am I?
And you can't really think what drives people to do it, because presumably, unless they've all had it done as well, everyone
people are wanting to be immortal, aren't they?
Yeah. But that's
it's
just like
thought of death. The thought of death scares so many people. I speak to people all the time, and in my previous job, because I was a manager of an enhanced dementia unit, and alongside that, I specialise in end of life care too. So I've seen so many people die. I've supported so many families through losing a loved one, and the conversations are all very much the same. And it's 9 times out of 10, people are scared because they don't know what to expect.
But don't you think that the scarier thing would be, what happens? So when you're frozen, what happens to you? The thing that makes you. Are you in some kind of limbo? Are you in a black space? Are you in the body still and just frozen?
Which is what scares me. The thought of being frozen petrifies me. Yeah. Honestly, I can't imagine it. I won't want to imagine it. No. Surely, although you're frozen and they do it in a specific manner so that it doesn't actually kill off any of your brain cells or any of your nervous system. And so I get how they do it. I've looked into it and I really do get how they do it. But surely there has got to be some form of damage to that specific person.
Yeah, well, we met with a neuroscientist, a surgeon down at the Royal College of London, and he said that in his opinion, although they've tested it on small cells and, they do sort of come back, he said in his opinion, there isn't any way to bring somebody back completely as that person. Yeah. There would be brain damage. Mm-hmm. And it was something to do with, obviously, when you freeze, you're creating... You need water. You're creating ice molecules, and when they defrost, they will do damage. Yeah. So and
if you defrosted too quickly as well.
Yeah, I mean it's just hard. It's just horrendous. And to think that in America and in Russia there's these huge, almost like factory units full of people just hanging there, just
hanging around.
Yeah. Just waiting to be defrosted.
Maybe we should pop there and do an investigation, see if we get anything in those. But I wonder if it does look like in the films, all these little cubes of people. I'm never going to be able to have ice cube in a drink again. I'm just giving myself nightmares now.
I just imagine like a the blue. So they're in like this water and it's all blue and they're clothed. And I don't know if that's how it is. It's probably not. But no, it's too far. I mean, science fiction is all well and good, and a lot of what we do now is thanks to the imagination of people within that field. But honestly, that is just no. That's just no. I think it opens up a massive moral dilemma as well, because, at what point do families say, okay, science hasn't progressed, we can't bring them back? How many generations do you leave that on the shoulders of, that decision? And so
do you have to agree a date to come back on? That sounds so weird, doesn't it? Do you have to agree a date to come back?
No, that's the thing. And also I thing that's what makes it kind of a bit not dodgy, but these companies they're charging sort of $32,000 for just if you want your head frozen, because you can just have your head, not your whole body. Yeah, I know.
What are you going to do with the head? Pop it on the mantelpiece?
Exactly. I don't know. Have you ever seen Tales of the Unexpected?
Yes.
There's an episode where the woman has the husband's brain and eyeball in a and the first thing I thought when I heard about this head business is, oh my God, we're going to be heads in jars. It's just beyond the bizarre. But yeah, so you can pay that, or you can pay the full amount, which is a lot more, to have your whole body done. But then you sign this contract, which basically says that, it's only in the advancement of medical science that you'll be brought back. So it's almost like a get-out clause, really, for these companies. Because
we're going to take so much money off you. It's unreal. Yeah. And then only if we decide that science has progressed enough, we'll bring you back.
Yeah. But there are no guarantees. But, but people are willing to take their hands. It's, it says a lot. Scary. It says a lot about human nature, doesn't it? Like you're saying, fear of dying and all of that. It's massive. So that's why I was really intrigued to do Afterlife, because I thought, well, when you speak to people who've been through potentially, people who've had, say, stage 2, 3 cancer, and they've had to think about these things, they've really had to think, okay, I might not be here much longer. Yep. When they recover from that, their outlook is completely different. There's no fear of that because they were confronted with it. Yeah. And you realise that actually we're so blessed to have every single day we have on earth that we should just enjoy it and not worry about things like that.
Mm-hmm. So I've never had a near-death experience, touch wood, never had it. But as I said, I've seen so many people at the end stage of their life, and I've held so many people's hands as they take their final breaths that I'm not actually personally scared of death anymore. Mm. The things that happen as people are dying can be quite touching sometimes. And it's almost as if somebody's come along and said, it's okay, come with me. I've seen people just that have not moved in months. And I've seen them just literally sit up, smile at a specific area, lay back down and take the last breath. When I say it out loud, I think people think that I must be slightly crazy myself or I'd been up too many hours. But these stories that I've got are 100% true. Mm. And it's fascinating. Yeah. Honestly, well, I started writing a blog on it, Jayne, because I do the occasional blog. I'm not a writer by any means, but I thought I'd dabble in doing the odd blog. And I started writing one about death and dying. But it's turning into a book. It's horrific. I think I'm up to about 20,000 words now.
Wow, well done.
It's shocking.
Make it a book.
But it's never going to be a book that people are going to want to read. But it's just experience, isn't it? And I think when you've got that experience, why not share it with people?
I think a lot of people would want to read it because it's one of those things where we are all curious, and whether you fear it or not, it's just fascinating to hear people's, when you think, oh, yeah. I mean, I spoke to someone who, when they sat with it was a lady who sat with her husband and her daughter was with her, so her father, when he was dying. And they said that they saw almost, the mother saw it first. She said it wasn't a glow. It was almost like when you see heat on a pavement, that kind of, just like a shift. Yeah, like a shift in the atmosphere, and it was on him, and it moved down from his chest down to his feet. And she nudged her daughter and said, "Can you see what I can see?" They were in the hospital, and the daughter said, "Yeah, I can." And they watched it, and they both said that they saw this light in the corner of the room, and then it went and stopped, and he took his last breath, and he was gone. Mm-hmm. When they left the hospital, they didn't feel sad. They said, "Actually, we walked out, and we were kind of quite." Almost like, relieved, because at that point then we knew, oh, he's okay. There is something else. He's gone somewhere now. So, it's just fascinating. I don't think I think you'd have to be a bit weird not to be interested in that, to be honest, because it's...
it's not us that are weird, it's everybody else.
Get into it, people.
Yeah, get a grip. Tell me what the problem is. So where do you see the afterlife going? How much more work have you got to put into that before it's complete? Will it ever be complete?
Oh, it will be complete. Yes, it's there. It's on my list, but it will be complete. But it'll be next year. It was meant to be this year, but now because of things have happened, and I'm now doing the show, and a couple of the shows that I've done this year, they've just taken me completely by surprise, and I didn't expect it. So what I had planned in my diary, I was sort of blocking out, right, June, July, August, that's afterlife. Then it was like, are you free in June? And are you free in July? Yeah, actually I am, but kind of I was doing something, but never mind. So so it's been put back, but I will definitely do it. There were lots of people who supported that project. We put it on crowdfunding, and we raised money through one of the local councils as well, who wanted us to put on these death cafes, which I hate the name of. We need something better, but that's basically what it is. It's a community getting together and having tea and cake and talking about death, really, breaking the taboo about it.
But again, you see, with working in the care sector, and especially end of life, the amount of people that don't prepare is unreal. And then it's all left upon the heads of those that are remaining. It's so tough. Whereas at least if you open and discuss it, and I think there's a lot more being said these days, isn't there, about preparing for death. There's like funeral plans in place and stuff. I mean, I've got a funeral plan. My funeral's just about paid for. I mean, I'm hoping I don't have to use it anytime soon, but it's prepared. That means that my children don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's kind of head in the sand stuff with most people, isn't it? You know, that's not going to happen to me, or I've got years to go. I'll think about that when I'm older. And the thing is, the reality is that some of us don't get to be older.
No, so, and you never know what's around the corner.
No, exactly.
Never, ever know what's around the corner. As scary and as horrible as that might sound to some people listening at home, and I don't want to offend anybody, but it's true.
Yeah. And that was the whole, I mean, when I told my parents about afterlife, that I wanted to do something about death and dying, and what was it? It's like, oh, God, you're so grim. Why do you want to do that for? Do something a bit cheerful. It's like, yeah, but, you know, it's relevant. It's important to people. It's important to me. I'm curious. I'm fascinated. Really, I suppose it's just an excuse for me to be completely nosy and talk to loads of different people, you know, find out their opinions and stuff.
You don't need an excuse to be nosy, Jayne. Just do what I do and just say, hi, are you all right?
Yeah.
So tell me about this then. What have you been up to? I do it all the time. But again, I mean, that is just another small part of you. I mean, you even make equipment.
Well, I've got, I don't make it particularly, but I've got ideas about things and what I would like. And I decided quite a while ago that actually I was really quite interested in static and the static field and the changes around that when people are having their paranormal experiences. And so I thought, there's all these EMF meters, and I've been through loads, you know, with my team. We've tried loads of different ones, and the trouble is that they're so unreliable, really, that they can just be set off by anything. And, you know, that they're okay. We don't tend to use them on the show either. I mean, we've got them, of course, they're there in the case, but we don't tend to use the EMF meters, you know, the K2s and all of that, because somebody uses a walkie-talkie outside and it goes off. And you're like, oh.
Wi-Fi signal, mobile phone, and smartwatches.
Yeah, all of that. So I think, especially as you say, like as technology's moving on, we can't rely on things like that.
Not even just that. I mean, old furniture, some old furniture, if they've got a specific type of metal in it, affects any EMF meters.
It's crazy, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know your equipment, don't you, and how it works and what sets it off, and the ins and outs of a, pardon my language, but the ins and outs of a duck's ass. You need to know, how can you go out there and say to people, well, this is what this is doing, and this is what we're looking for, and this is what's going to happen when that changes. How can we say that to anybody if we don't know how it works fully ourselves? Exactly.
And I still now at times prefer the more back to basics. So literally me sitting somewhere and just listening to the room and listening to what's going on. And so I knew that there was a physical reaction within me and within others with the static field. So, you know, you get the hair standing up on your arms, you can feel that change yourself. So I thought, well, that's something that is actually quite tangible to people. So I wanted to try. I know there are static meters out there, but I just wanted something not to sell, not to mass produce, but just for my team to use. And so, we worked on the Cube, which is, I mean, it's huge. It's like, it's far bigger than it needs to be probably. But I just thought that, you know, these tiny handheld devices, they're good. But I wanted something that I could put in the middle of the room that we don't have to be next to, that we don't have to be holding.
So you're taking the human interaction out of it completely.
Yeah, I wanted that to be less influence if possible. So, we went through a few different models, about 15 or 16 that I just wasn't happy with because they were going off at things.
Just a couple then?
Just one or two. Yeah. Not that I'm picky. Not that I'm picky. But no, the one we've got now seems pretty good. I mean, nothing's 100%. You know, you've never got a fail-safe piece of equipment. But at the moment, I'm quite happy with how it's been behaving.
Yeah, because
So
I did see before that you'd done some testing on it, and this is going back when we first started talking about getting you on. I think it was January time, wasn't it? So we're talking back then, really, that you was first testing it. So how much further have you got with the testing of the cube? It sounds like a game show, doesn't it?
I know.
Cube.
Welcome to the cube.
Welcome to the cube.
Yeah, we've taken it out to different locations. We've used it with small groups, just 1 or 2 people, and we've used it with bigger groups. One of the things I was keen to find out was whether actually, if more people are around it, does it set it off? Are we changing the static too much? But that didn't happen, so I was quite pleased. But I haven't used it now for a few months because being away with the show, it's not something, I'm not going to stick that in front of the camera and say, oh, look at this, it's brilliant, because I'm not selling them, I'm not making them. It's just
but you don't have to. You could still use it. Surely
we could, but it's got HD Paranormal on. I know we could cover it up, I suppose. But
put plaster on it, it'll be fine.
We've had to do that with a few things, so far. But I'll tell you, but we've been to some amazing. I mean, the place we were at last night, we didn't have massive expectations, actually.
Jayne, you are such a tease because you can't actually tell us where you was, but continue.
Well, it was a place in a place, and it was, it was just, it's not, the whole purpose really of Help My House is Haunted is exactly that. It's that these are real people in real houses who need help. It's not about us having an excuse to go to a big castle or anything like that, which it's fantastic for us and they look good on screen and everything else, but something that we were just keen to do really was help people, go to real homes and help people. So we've had some amazing houses, some beautiful big houses, but normal houses as well. And actually we found that some of the best experiences are in those normal semis, semi-detached house where people have actually lived and died and their lives have played out there, the arguments, the laughter, everything.
Right, don't surprise me.
So it's going really well. And
so how does the process of Help My House is Haunted work? When do people apply to the show and say, I believe my house is haunted?
I think that the researchers, so they will put out their, probably on social media, but I think in newspapers and stuff as well around the UK in different towns and counties. Yeah, just exactly that, asking for people who think they're going through something.
Mm-hmm. So then what happens after that? Do the researchers go and interview them? Like you said, when you're doing a private case, you've got a list, you've got a criteria, basically, that you need to check off to make sure that there is no, there's no mental health issues contributing. And ensure that you're not putting a vulnerable person at any more risk. You have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So the researchers go out and they do what we call the backstory. So they'll find out exactly what's going on and how many witnesses are there and how long has it been going on for. We do have, there is a counsellor, there is a psychologist on board with the production team, and everyone, all of the contributors that we work with, they get given access free of charge. It's all paid for, free of charge. So if at any point they feel they need that psychological intervention, they've got it there. So
that's good.
It's that they really do look after people, actually, and it's not until sort of the very end when everything's in place and everyone's happy that we get told about it.
Let's see, that was going to be my next question. When do you find out what locations you're off to, what areas?
It's usually, I'd say, a week, maybe 2 weeks before. So we have a rough idea of dates. We get told, like the next sort of block of filming is going to be between these few weeks. But then we get told about a week before, because I think things can change up to last minute. We have had places that have changed at the last minute. We thought we're going somewhere and then suddenly for whatever reason we're not. So they don't tell us too far in advance. Maybe I think that's a good thing, because we obviously don't contact the people outside of the show. We want to just go straight in there and see what we get for ourselves.
Do you have a historian that traces back the information for the locations? And
well, I do that. I do.
I
do some of that, but then part of what I do is I meet with the local historians, and they give me a bit of a walk round, and they tell me about anything important or interesting that's happened in the area. So we normally meet with either a local historian from the Historical Society, or if we're at a place, I can't say because it will give something away, but if we're at a place that's got a specific kind of industry, we might speak to someone who's worked in that industry for a long time and can tell us, the dangers and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, we always find at least 2 people to speak to give us some kind of historical background to where we are. And then I put that together with my research. So we look through census records to see who lived in the house before and all of that kind of stuff, because it all helps. Because then when you get there, of course, as you know, if any names come out on anything, EVPs, you're like, oh, my God, yes, that's right. That's the person that lived here. So
it's just building a case file, isn't it?
That's if you don't know that, happening. Yeah, if you get a good EVP and it says, I don't know, Mary, well, that means nothing, does it? Yeah. If you don't know whether a Mary lived there or not, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, well, there might have been a Mary at one point.
Yeah.
So that's Help My House is Haunted. So Paranormal Captured, because you've also done that recently. And we can discuss that because the filming's done. It's been out. It's done and dusted, right? Yeah. So we can actually discuss that. So how did you find the location? Because the location that you went to first was the house on the entrance of the graveyard.
The first one was the Barnsley Poltergeist, so the antique shop.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was the second one.
Yeah, that was and then the second one was the house in the cemetery. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So how did you get your locations? Did you have to source them yourself? I'm so nosy, Anna.
No, we didn't. No. So I had an email from Angie, who was the series producer last year. I think it was probably November, with this idea. And I think she'd contacted a few different people, and we all had a chat with her about the way we investigate, and I think she wanted to get a good mix. Mm-hmm. So we had a few Skype calls and a few conversations, and then she said, well, this is how it's going to work. It's going to be a 6-part series, but we want different investigators to do different investigations. Yeah. And yeah, just bring all your kit, and this is where you're going. So I knew where I was going probably 2 weeks before, maybe. And they give you sort of a little write-up. So they say, okay, so this is the person, and this is the property, and this is what's going on. But yeah, essentially you just turn up there. I mean, it is literally like an investigation. You turn up, load all your cases in, and they're ready, cameras to go, and it's like, right, let's do this then. The house in the cemetery was really interesting. Obviously, I'd heard of Sean and Beck's.
You see, I hadn't, and I'm not going to lie. In fact, I put it out there on social media anyway. I'm not backwards at going forwards, Jayne, by any means. And I was very, very disappointed. When I watched Paranormal Captured, I was like, oh my God, every paranormal investigator's dream. Those people are so lucky. I was like, wish I was them. And the way it's possibly, bearing in mind I've done articles in papers, I've done TV. I know that it can be edited a specific way, but the way it came across was that they was complete novices to the paranormal, to then find them in a show announced as paranormal investigators. I was like, what course did they do? Because that was quick.
Yeah, I know it. And do you know what the thing was? I didn't realise that actually they had a clip going in the same series, because I think in the next episode or the one after, it was like a paranormal clip. I was like, oh, okay, because I mean, Angie had said, who was the series producer, for the purposes of the investigation, of course, they are just the homeowners, so they haven't investigated their own home. They find it too close for comfort. They want a third party to come in to make sure they're not going mad. So I thought, oh, okay, fair enough. And they were lovely. They were really welcoming. Lovely house, obviously. Gorgeous house. Yeah. And it was really interesting. We did have some very unusual things, mainly with the spirit box. The spirit box behaved really strangely. And we got out, when we stepped near the cemetery, we couldn't go into the cemetery because there's rules around that, obviously, but we were sort of very close by on their garden. And we had kind of responses to how many were there, and it just seemed really clear. And I'm always a bit dubious of spirit boxes, because I think you forget the ones that you don't want to hear, that don't make sense, and you just remember the ones that do link in with what you're thinking. But no, it was good. We were there for probably about 5 or 6 hours investigating, and you only get to see sort of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So there is a lot that doesn't get shown, but I think, they try to show the best bits. But I really liked the idea of Paranormal Captured. I thought it was very different. You know, you've got this.
The psychologists were amazing.
Yeah, and
that was nice to actually see that, because we've not actually seen psychologists on a TV show properly for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, that's true. One of my favourites used to be, I don't know if you ever saw Haunted Homes with Mia Dolan and Chris French. And I don't know why. I mean, I've never met Mia Dolan. I don't know her at all. And I don't really ever think I've seen anything else with her in. But when I watched that, I just really bought into it. And I think it was very balanced. Obviously, you had Chris French, you know, they'd go out into the Winnebago and they'd have this conversation about what was going on. And I just thought it was really, really lovely. I think now Mia Dolan, you can have readings with her, but I think you have to go to where she lives, Isle of Sheppey or something. Yeah. So she's kind of out of, you know, she decided to not do the TV thing anymore. But I thought she was really good. I was quite impressed with that show.
Yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah.
It's going back some years, that, isn't it?
I know.
Just everybody listening at home, obviously, myself and Jayne, we are only 21.
Of course, we've just got very old heads on our shoulders. We're very wise. We've been here before.
We'll go with that one.
Probably
we'll go with that. So, Jayne, we are rapidly running out of time. I cannot believe how quick this hour has gone. What is next for you?
Filming this is nearly finished, and then in October I've got the Gloucester weekend. That's probably the next biggest thing. I am at a Supernatural fair in September, which my friend Karen is organising in Worcester.
Actually, Karen has been a little star, actually, and she's shared your links into the chat room, so thank you, Karen.
She's an angel. Hello, Karen, if you're listening. I love her. She's great. Yes, so there's the Supernatural fair, and then I'm putting together something for Halloween at the moment, which is it's Victorian. That's all I can say at the moment, really, because I've not finished the plans. But that's a public event.
Spoilers, Jayne. Spoilers.
I know. It's Victorian.
Are we talking like a Victorian seance?
That might be part of it. There might be costumes. There might be a big grand hall. Yeah.
See, now you're talking my language.
So excited. It's all just an excuse for me to dress up and do what I want to do, really. Everything I do is just an excuse for me to do something I want to do. So I think that's probably about it. And then we don't know whether there's series 3 yet of Help My House is Haunted. We should know that maybe by the end of the year. I'm not sure, but watch this space. Yeah, I don't know.
What about Paranormal Captured? Are we getting a second series?
I don't know. If there is a second series, I don't know if I'll be part of it, because the way the contracts work with UK TV is that it's kind of an exclusivity thing where, you know, you can't sort of do a very similar role on a different show for a different channel and all that kind of. So I don't know exactly how it would work, but I've not heard anything about series 2. But do you know what? The feedback from Paranormal Capture has been amazing. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there is a second series. Because it's just so different. I think the whole kind of mix, there's probably things they could change, which, you know, every TV show is like that. You know, you do your first series and you adapt. But yeah.
It's all a learning process, isn't it?
Yeah. I hope they do. I really hope they do.
But Jayne might not be a part of it.
But I might not. Or I might. Is it a double bluff?
Oh God, I love trying to dig for little spoilers of information.
You're very good. You leave these suggestive pauses where people are like, do I need to tell her something?
Everybody needs to tell me everything, honestly. Just tell me everything. I always need to know.
I will reveal all, Gemma, one day. I'll tell you everything.
Tell me off air, Jayne. We'll go with that. Your secret is safe with me.
Sure,
just not right now because we're live.
Okay.
So don't do it now. Okay.
Oh, it's been lovely having a chat. I can't believe an hour's gone.
I know, it's gone so quick. I can't believe it. There is so much more that I still need to talk to you about, because we've only just scratched the surface, really.
Yeah, well,
we didn't even get to go into your psychology bit either, really.
No, but I can waffle on for hours. That's the problem. You'd need a 3-hour show if you were to ask me about everything, because I just waffle on.
I'm a waffler too. I do like to talk. I should work for BT, really.
I used to work in a call centre, Telewest. It was horrendous. But that's for another show.
That's the after show.
Yeah.
Well, Jayne, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget, guys, listening at home, you can check Jayne out. Paranormal Captured, you can still find it on social media. And I believe it's even on, it's still on TV, isn't it, Jayne?
I think they can get it on the
Catch Up and stuff.
Yeah, Now TV and the Sky Player, I think. Yeah.
So if you did miss it, go check it out. And Help My House is Haunted will be released at some point.
Yes, in the very near future.
And as I said, Jayne has got investigations coming up. She's got spiritualist fairs coming up. If you want to go see Jayne, just head on over to HD Paranormal. You can find all the information on there. And the same with Parasearch Radio shows. There's shows on every night of the week. If you missed them, you can check them out over on Spreaker and YouTube. And for me, guys, it's thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.